Right, and I see arguments as actually like that we're actually solving something in arguments. I see those as a way of showing advancing in your relationships, because when you feel vulnerable enough to say your deepest opinions with each other, even if it results in an argument, you're still moving forward in a relationship, even if it's not in the way that you like. But just to get to the root of things is you're advancing in your relationship.
Hello everyone, we are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world.
All right, welcome back. Still sitting here with some of my besties.
Hello. Hi there.
Crissy and Abbie and I were just sitting here talking about, again, the importance of keeping a positive outlook, positive words in all situations. And we were just sitting here thinking about the times when some of you girls have disagreements or maybe hurt each other's feelings or may say something that would cause an argument, how to handle those properly and keep our words still on track.
Right, and this may not be always the biggest thing, but maybe just between ourselves, like if Abbie and I maybe had an argument about something that, actually mattered to us. We've gotten really good about, if it's something just kind of silly or small, just kind of let it go, you know? You don't have to make, mountains out of molehills. But if it's something that is actually bothering us or that has been continually going on, we have learned how to work through those situations positively, not just being like, well, I'm all upset, so she should just understand my feelings. Being, no, I should try to understand her feelings, and vice versa though, and not just be the one who's always expecting them to do something above and beyond for you, but also doing it for them.
Yeah, actually, Chrissy's really good about this. She studies how to work with different people's personalities and the different ways they process things. And I would not say 100% because that's a lot, but like majority of the time, Chrissy's the first one to ask one of her siblings, all right, can you tell me your perspective first? Is there something that you would like to say? I won't interrupt you. And if I do, I'll correct myself because I want to hear your words first, your heart first, before I explain myself.
And it's like for these arguments, when we're figuring out different people's, like, how are you feeling? Mom and dad have taught us how to help each other and work it out. Not always with mom and dad's help, how to do it between each other. And if it is really major, we can bring it to mom and dad to have the outside opinion. But they have been teaching us how to have a calm argument between each other and how to see both of the perspectives to try to get a good solution between us.
And this is also where love languages can come in. Like, I know my sister Bella, for instance, she has a words of affirmation love language, quality time love language. So you can't really, if she's trying to have a moment with herself, you can't really just intrude on that. She needs a moment to collect her thoughts. But for me, I can think really quick on my feet. So I could just start, with what I'm trying to show her right away. But she just needs a minute to collect her thoughts so that she can come in and be the best version of herself when trying to figure this out. But other siblings, I just need to maybe re-explain myself a bit. I might just need to be like, okay, I didn't mean that. This is what I meant, and I'm sorry I worded it that way, and I can see how that made you upset. What can I improve on for next time so this doesn't happen again? That's kind of what I've learned to do, rather than just being like, okay, this is my perspective. This is what I thought you did. Just being like, okay, what do you think I can improve on? And it's so sweet because I sleep with Drew and Ellie in their bedroom, and a lot of times I try to avoid arguments at night. But if there's something that's really bothering us and it's just us two literally in that room at a calm moment, I'll be like, okay, let's discuss this calmly. And we're really figuring things out there. And from then on, the next morning, you're feeling closer, you're feeling more united, and you're just feeling happier with each other because you calmly discussed it, not yelled at each other, not got mad at each other all over again, but actually considered each other's perspectives and love languages so you can actually get to the bottom of this.
That's such a key point, Chris, is talking it over calmly and listening to each other and saying, how can I improve? All that brings an argument down to a less chaotic level. It brings it to a level where people actually can be vulnerable versus feeling they have to be defensive. And the minute people start feeling defensive, that's when, you're not connected at all. And so I think it's great that through the years you have studied this, because it's a great example for everybody else, but you're consistent with it. That's the key. Is I think one of the things about working through arguments and being, future focused on them and being positive during them is really having a place of, I'm going to keep working on this and be consistent with it.
And like when we were learning, me, Bella, and Crissy were going through a hard time a while ago about arguing with each other and being kind to each other while arguing, not being rude, using the right words. Mom and Dad taught us to not use the words never and always. So, because that can hurt your identity. Let's just say like you never do this in an argument. That is not true. Like, you don't say the word never, and you never say the word, and you don't say the word always. And it's like, Mom and Dad are teaching us how to, we don't always have to get Mom and Dad to help us with the outside perspective, so we can deal with our arguments calmly and not have to always get Mom and Dad to help us. They have taught us, but if there is situations, they want us to get them if it is needed, but like learning the love languages, learning if this person needs a minute, or just realizing the right words and the right language to go to each other, like being kind while arguing. You don't want to hurt their identity. You don't want to say words that speak directly to them. You just want to say maybe their action is like this, and also making sure you think of the outside perspective. You think of the argument as a whole, and how it will help you in the future, and just making sure you keep all that in mind. Mom and Dad has taught us how to do that, so when us siblings argue with each other, it's has a lot more peace in it. It has a lot more calmness in it, knowing that both sides understand how to argue this out.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And I think that's one of the things that we focus on, because everybody's going to argue. Like, it's inevitable. You're not going to agree on everything. Right? I mean, situations are going to happen. I mean, we all live together in the same home. Like, we see each other all the time. Like, things are going to make us upset. And sometimes those different situations can make us feel like we're allowed to just say or do what we want just because we're going through something. But we're not allowed to do that. There has to be an opportunity for everybody to work on themselves enough so that they actually can calmly discuss what's going on and not go off on a tangent that is in a negative mode or just throwing things around that aren't truthful.
Exactly. And I know that everybody in our family is working on something. So before I just jump to conclusions about what they might have done wrong, I'm thinking about what have they been working really hard to improve on? Like, maybe it's not interrupting me. Maybe it's maybe I got annoyed when they would just maybe say, well, you did this wrong, before they actually told me what I might have been doing right. So we've gotten a lot better at like complimenting before you tell them what maybe they did wrong. Like, you've done really good at not interrupting me lately. I'm really proud of you for that. And that's really helped us be able to discuss things a lot better. But I felt kind of hurt when you did blank. That's a lot better way of putting it than, well, I felt really hurt when you did this, so I think you should improve on that. And see, that just creates another argument that we don't need to go into. So we have really learned to minimize the deep conversations we've needed to go into with still being able to understand each other, because we learned that certain phrases take off people's and we need to avoid that. And you don't need to always speak your mind. You just got to say in a way for them to understand where maybe you're coming from.
And also, one thing that our mom and dad taught us is sometimes you might need a minute to just separate from each other to collect your thoughts. Like when for Bella's personality, she likes to have just a minute to think about what's going on. And same with me. Sometimes I don't even realize it. I'm like, let's just get this over with. I just want to be friends. Let's just be done with the argument. But sometimes we just, like, me and Bella had an argument a little while ago, and it was over tennis because we were playing a lot together and things were not working out how we wanted to. So we were already upset with that we lost a couple of games, and we were upset that we weren't working together. We were upset with the score, and we just wanted a good placing for our districts because it was the day of districts. And so we had to separate from each other a couple times. We tried to come together, but then it kind of come in an argument, so we'd separate from each other. And then eventually, once we fully calmed down, we were able to work through the argument and just figure out an actual good solution, because we'd come up with solutions when we were upset in between the matches, and then it feel like it turned out worse than what we were trying to figure out. So once we just calmed down, had a minute just to rethink about what we had said to each other and what we were doing to each other and how we were hurting each other's feelings, we could come together and come with a solution. And the next thing that our mom and dad have taught us is try not to have arguments at night, because you're tired, you're mentally exhausted, you're just ready for a break. And sometimes you can lash out in ways that you would not have done it if you would have been more awake. So that's another thing that we really had to learn, because when a little while ago when we were in Wisconsin, me, Bella, and Crissy all shared the same room, and we would have arguments at night, and it would get really, really intense, and like all of us would just go to bed feeling angry and upset with each other. There'd be some tears because we're just all so tired that we couldn't fully think straight to have this argument, because we just wanted to be friends while going to the night, because it's not a good way to end the night is by having an argument, because now you're in a negative attitude because you haven't even solved the argument.
Yes. Such a good lesson. Not that Dad and I are very good at it, because we tend to argue at night too.
But Mom, we don't mind. We can stay up later that way.
Yes, the kids love it when Greg and I get in an argument at night, because they feel like they don't want to interrupt us and ask if it's bedtime or if it's prayer time. So they just assume that means they have an extra hour to do whatever they want.
I'd prefer if it wasn't an argument, if it was just kindly talking things over.
Yes. You know how Dad and I, we are so quiet with our voices that we like to just quietly talk things over.
Yeah. But the thing is, Mom, that even if we've tried to go to bed before, but then Hunter doesn't want to go to bed in her room, which is your room, by herself. So we try to have her with us, but then she doesn't even fall asleep. So it's just better to stay awake.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things. It's so funny because we all know, right? It's the end of the night, and that's when things really come out, right? Like when we're the tiredest, or when we are just overwhelmed, or when we just need some space by ourselves, or when we just need to relax. Like that's when things will start coming out, and we really don't even want to discuss them then. We should have discussed them earlier in the day when we were more alert and could really process things. And I just tell you that it's like, I don't know how many times we've made the mistake of it, and we'll probably do more of it in the future. But in the end, one of the things that we teach all of our kids is that we're going to work it out. Like no matter what, we're going to work it out. So, whether they're arguing, they're going to work it out. Like we're going to work it out. We're not just going to pretend like it didn't happen. We're not just going to hold on to a grudge or bitterness or anger or hurt. We're going to discuss it, and we're going to heal from it so that we can continue to stay together closely for the rest of the time here. And same thing for Greg and I. When we get in arguments, I remember when the kids would be like, "Oh, we heard you and Dad argue." Oh, I know. And they'd be like, "Is everything okay?" And I'm like, "It will always be okay. Dad and I just got in an argument. Like, just like you get upset with each other, we get upset with each other. And we're going to argue. We're going to have a lot to say. And it's going to be okay."
Right. And I see arguments as actually that we're actually solving something in arguments. I see those as a way of showing and advancing in your relationships, because when you feel vulnerable enough to say your deepest opinions with each other, even if it results in an argument, you're still moving forward in a relationship, even if it's not in the way that you'd like. Maybe it's easier to discuss it calmly, but just to get to the root of things is you're advancing in your relationship.
And when you have arguments together, arguments that don't work out is because they didn't find a solution to it. When you have an argument, you should be solution minded, where you should we're going to always figure this out. That's our philosophy here in our family. That's how God wanted us to be, always sticking together, always figuring things out, doing life together. So we're going to go off of those standards. We always want to stay together. So even if we have arguments, we're always staying together. We're never separating from each other. And that's the thing that we know, we're gonna find a solution here. People who have arguments and it just doesn't work out and they're still mad at each other, it's because they didn't find a solution. And solutions are always what you both agree on. it's not always it's what is going on here. We got to figure out the root, and we got to work this out together. And even if it's like, you can't do half of one person's opinion always and half of another person's opinion, because then you both don't get what you want.
Right. So I think in the end, looking at things from a positive perspective is realizing that even through an argument, even through a disagreement, even through disappointments, that there can be something good out of it. We can learn something from it. We can move forward, even if we had to deal with it during it.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.